Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I just returned from a 2-week vacation on the Oregon coast with my family. I live an extraordinarily blessed life. But the other day, I started thinking about how I often hear people say things like, man, they've got it all, or life would be easy if I could just be like him or her, and if only I could have what they have. It is so easy as human beings to slide into envy because someone has a bigger house, makes more money, is married to a supermodel, or travels all over the world, or just seems to have it all together. And here's what people just don't seem to understand. When you get jealous of someone else, you are statistically injecting negativity and failure into your future self. And the devil just smiles. Let me explain what I mean. An Australian study followed thousands of people for years, not weeks, not months, I'm talking years. And here's what they discovered. Every time envy went up in a person's life, their happiness went down. Not just that day and not just that week, but even a full year later, their happiness was down statistically significantly. You see, envy did not inspire them, and it doesn't inspire you. It didn't motivate them. It didn't push them towards success. Rather, it acted like a tiny hole punctured in their happiness tank, slowly draining them day after day after day. Think about that. Every mindless scroll through social media where you think, why do they have that and I don't? Every moment you compare to someone's life, someone else's highlight reel, you're not hurting them. Instead, you're draining your own life satisfaction. You see, envy doesn't make you better. It makes you bitter. And it makes your future self miserable. Think about the most miserable people you know, the ones who always seem weighed down by life, the Debbie Downers, who somehow manage to brighten a room simply by leaving it. Think about how they talk, about how they carry themselves, the stories they repeat. Try to remember the last time you heard them genuinely express gratitude for something, anything. It's rare, right? Now, try counting the number of times they allude to other people's success or imply that everyone else caught a lucky break while they got dealt a bad hand. They replay that narrative over and over in their minds until it becomes their identity. And the sad part is, it's not the circumstances that made them miserable, it's the mindset they chose and rehearsed for years. You know, God knew this long before the researchers in Australia figured it out. When He commanded His people not to covet, not to crave your neighbor's life, their possessions, their status, or the story you imagine they're living. It wasn't just a lofty spiritual guideline. Yes, it was a moral rule to guardrail and keep your heart aligned with what's good and true, but also it was so much more than that. It was protection for your mental health and a safeguard against the slow internal erosion that comparison always brings. It was a reminder that your peace depends far more on the posture of your heart than on the content of your bank account or the highlights of someone else's life. In a very real way, it was a walking stick on your path to success. Something steady to lean on as you climb. Something to keep you upright when envy tries to knock you sideways. Something to keep your focus on the road ahead instead of the lane beside you. God wasn't just telling people what not to do. He was showing them how to live a whole, centered, and free life. Now let me tell you a personal story because this really hit me recently. I was walking with my 11-year-old daughter in Manzanita, Oregon, about a week ago, And we purposefully walked the same route we took 8 years ago when we first vacationed on the Oregon coast. We've gone back 5 times since then. We walked from the little beach house we had rented and back to our favorite coffee shop, the one with those unbelievable maple bars. These maple bars, they're the things dreams are made of. We both remembered it so clearly, wandering those winding neighborhood streets with the sound of crashing waves as a backdrop. But here's what really struck me. 8 years ago, when we were there, she was so small. She had to reach her hand up over her head just to grab onto mine. And this time, she slipped her hand into mine with only the slightest bend in her elbow because she's grown into a young lady. The same little girl who once had to reach up with all her might just to grab my hand now walks beside me almost as an equal. And part of me was so sad that she's not so small anymore. Those tiny fingers and those short stumbling steps, they're gone forever. I'll never get those exact moments back again. The ones where she needed me for everything, where her whole world fit into the span of my arms. There's a sweetness to watching your kids grow. But there's also this quiet ache that comes with realizing each stage only happens once. And before you know it, it's already a memory. And in that moment in Manzanita, I felt this overwhelming wave of gratitude for every step we've taken together. Every moment God has allowed me to experience as her dad. I told her something while we walked along the beach with the small maple bars in our nostrils. I say this often to my kids. I told her, I hear so many people complain that their life isn't what they want, that they don't have what someone else has, that they got dealt the wrong hand. But me, I love my life so much that the only thing I'd change is that I'd want to live it over again exactly the same way. Truly, I wouldn't change a thing. I love my life. I love my life. And I am so very grateful for every minute God has given me. It feels like God gave me exactly the kind of life that fits me. No grand architect could have designed it better. Now, here's the truth I've learned. Gratitude has to come before your success. Because if it doesn't, your success will never make you grateful. Let me say that again. Gratitude must come before your success, because if it does not, your success will never make you grateful. Here's where this ties together. Pew Research found that only about 60% of Americans feel strong gratitude on a regular basis. And only about 1 in 4 feel grateful multiple times per day. Let that sink in for a minute. This is America. That means a huge portion of our country is walking around barely noticing the good that surrounds them, not seeing the small daily gifts, not appreciating the pieces of their life that are actually working, not pausing long enough to recognize how much they've already been given. They simply drift through their routines on autopilot, focused on what's missing or what went wrong, instead of what's right in front of them. And in doing so, they never tap into one of the biggest natural happiness boosters we know of. Something completely free, always available, and proven to make life feel lighter, richer, and more meaningful. Because if envy drains your happiness, gratitude, the free gift, refills it. If envy leaks joy out of your life, gratitude pours it back in. Envy says, I deserve what they have. Gratitude says, thank you, God, for what I have. Envy fixates on what's missing. Gratitude magnifies what's already there. If anything in this monologue benefited you, please like and subscribe below. When you like and subscribe, YouTube uses that as information to put this video in front of more people. It helps me out. It gets this message to more people. Thank you for watching today. God bless you, and happy Thanksgiving.